Hello, I'm Daniel Ferry-Jones, news editor for PR Week, and today in our video podcast, produced in association with marketeers 4DC, we'll be looking at the role of data and digital channels in political and issues-based campaigning. It's a topic we covered in this week's issue of the magazine, along with the launch of a new company which my guest co-founded. Jag Singh may be familiar to PR Week readers from his days as a Labour Party digital strategist, and more recently digital director on the No to AV campaign in 2011. Welcome, Jag.
Thanks for having me.
So what have you been up to since the No to AV campaign?
Well, quite a bit actually. Glad you asked. So we've just set up WES, which is a data-driven sort of digital consultancy. And we're trying to reinvent the way digital technologies, strategies are deployed in public affairs and politics.
How is the use of digital changing the way that issues-based campaign teams are organised?
Well, we're seeing that digital is now the campaign itself. A lot of the output from any sort of digital platform, part of the campaign essentially, is basically the whole campaign. The other thing that we're noticing is that campaigns are a lot less siloed. Digital isn't any longer the bunch of guys sat in the corner, updating the website copy, changing the graphics on the website. They're actually tangible sort of benefits that are a result of digital being overlaid on top of all the other sort of campaign departments, whether it's press and media or field operations or fundraising or volunteer management, internal resource management. And the byproduct of that is lots of data, big data.
The way you build a relationship between a campaign and its supporters.
That's the best part about this big data. It lets you engage with your targets, the electorate in a political campaign, but with consumers for a public affairs company, almost on an atomic level. And you're able to harness all that sort of collective knowledge about that person and use that in any sort of subsequent interaction, which makes for far more sort of productive and efficient conversation with them.
What seems to have set the benchmark for digital campaigning is obviously Barack Obama's election campaigns.
Sure.
Obviously 2012 was more sophisticated than the first one.
Definitely.
Yeah. I believe you went out there and saw some of the campaigning. So what impressed you about that?
I didn't get the chance to see it up close and personal compared to 2008. But the thing that really impressed me with the way they ran the campaign was that they structured it for a national election on the same way that they would for a local council, ward election. The concerns of the electorate on the local level were addressed, and they didn't have just one strategy for all 50 states. They had a very granular strategy, and using the data that they had and they'd collected over the previous 4 years, and they'd also spent lots of money trying to build up in the run-up to the 2012 election. They used that data very, very efficiently and successfully to target voters' concerns in a way that the other campaigns weren't able to do.
So what was the data they had?
Well, it's more than just building a email list or a bunch of phone numbers. It's about trying to find relationships between people, trying to find surrogates for the campaign who would be able to go out and convert other Obama-leaning supporters into Obama voters. One of the interesting things that they sort of found was that voters from California who did phone banking, for example, were far more likely to convert or turn likely Obama supporters into actual Obama supporters, regardless of which state that person was calling from. As a campaign strategist, that's the kind of stuff that you really, really like to see. That's the kind of stuff that you can deploy very easily.
So someone in California calling someone in Florida was...
Someone in California is like 8 times more effective at converting someone, even if they're in Texas. And the general campaign sort of assumption is that, well, California, it's the People's Republic of California, there are a bunch of socialists out there, they're never going to be able to convert anyone else, especially in Texas.
Yeah.
But the actual data showed that they were able to do that, and a lot more successfully than imaginable.
So I wonder, in the UK, is that an equivalent here? Is there a region of the UK that
Well, we'll have to wait
effective?
and see. We'll have to wait and see. You might start getting inundated by calls from Scotsmen one of these days. You never know.
Maybe.
We'll figure it out.
So, I mean, can you just talk a bit about how our political parties, UK political parties, how they were using digital in the last general election.
Sure. So there was a lot of homegrown innovation in the 2010 cycle. You had My David Cameron, which actually, from a media perspective, had more penetration in terms of visibility than the actual ads that the official Conservative Party put out. My David Cameron was the spoof website that let you recreate the David Cameron's "I'll cut the deficit, not the NHS" poster. And there were lots of funny viral ones that went around. You had YouFundMe, which I set up, that helped candidates raise money just via the web. We did a small trial. We had about 5 candidates around the country, but one of them, Anthony Culvert in Morley and Atwood, raised more money than he could spend, which is a great problem to have if you're a candidate. Mm-hmm. But in terms of the parties themselves, both Labour and the Conservatives had their own sort of platforms. Conservatives had My Conservatives, and Labour had its Contact Creator or Campaign Centre, I think, and that allowed people to do stuff online, whether it was email their friends or call their neighbours or call friends in other parts of the country, and to try and convince them to sort of vote for whichever party. But again, it was all very siloed. It was kept separate. It wasn't part of the core campaign, and so they weren't able to send out email blasts to people whom they knew their canvassers had already knocked on doors earlier that morning. That sort of thing.
So when we get to the 2015 election, how do you think things will have moved on?
There's still a lot of consternation about digital and big data, especially from a lot of the party elders. But I think we are seeing a shift, and I think the Obama election, sort of the stuff that's come out of the Obama election is helping change that. With the Lyndon Crosbys and the Alistair Campbells and Tom Watsons of this world, they may not understand the math, but they definitely value the output that math produces. And so, just going back to the example of voters in California, or sorry, phone callers from California being much more sort of effective at converting likely Obama supporters into actual voters. That's the sort of thing that they could use. And I think going into the 2015 cycle, they're going to have that, but they're going to have a whole new set of tools that they're going to be able to use at their disposal. And I think it's going to make their life a lot easier.
Do you think campaigns will run for longer?
Yeah.
There'll be a build-up where...
Definitely. I mean, I think it's safe to say that the campaign period is now over. It's going to be a continuous campaign. And it's interesting, Stephen Harper in Canada is actually doing a lot of this. He's been sort of fighting for re-election the day after he got elected. I think we're going to be seeing a continuous campaign cycle. And Stephen Harper in Canada has pretty much been pioneering this, where the campaign never ends. He started campaigning for his re-election the day after he was voted in. He's doing phone banking. He's doing negative. He's going negative. He's going. He's putting out lots of ads. He is doing robocalls, and some of that's getting him in trouble. But he's not stopping, and we're going to see this era of continuous campaigning. Definitely after 2015. I'm pretty sure of that.
Okay. Could that turn some voters off if there's too much contact?
Yes, if you're flying blind and if you're just spamming voters with messages, they're definitely going to turn off. But if you're engaging with them on a level that they can relate to, if you're having a conversation with them that goes beyond just, oh well, here's my position and take it or leave it, I think politicians have to sort of understand that there is a changing shift. They're going to have to give and take a little bit. But yes, if they're doing it blindly and if they're just spamming people, then definitely people are going to turn off. But if they're able to have an intelligent conversation with them, there's definitely lots of benefits again from that.
Jag Singh, thank you very much for coming in. That's it for this week's PR Week TV, and we'll see you next week.